Maya wanted to walk around a little longer, so I left her behind and headed home alone. I was worried about Shion, considering what had happened this afternoon. It would be great if it was just vertigo. On my way straight to Shion's room, I noticed the door to my room was open. Hello everybody, welcome to today's stream, or slash video. This is your boy Cannon D here, and this is going to be Eden playthrough number 10. The last playthrough ended off on a cliffhanger, so I figured the best way to get started with this playthrough is to get right into it. And so, let's see what happens. I was sure I closed it when I left. Oh, don't tell me this is a I gently opened a door scene. Suspiciously, I walked in.
Oh.
I gasped a little without meaning to, but managed to control myself before I made much of a sound. Upon my bed in the corner of the room... Shion was asleep, all curled up like a baby in the womb. She's sleeping in Ryou's bed. How cute. I whispered in a low voice so she wouldn't hear. Shion had hated sleeping alone with an intense passion when we first arrived at the cottage. She apparently slept with Elika every day when she lived at the research facility, and I kept her close the entire time we were on the run. It seemed like she'd finally gotten used to sleeping alone recently too. I doubted she would wake even if I picked her up and carried her, but that posed a problem in itself. It would be best if I just slept somewhere else. Maya was using a cot in the living room, so I guess I got the hallway. Oh, we're starting it off like this, huh? Oh, we starting it off like this, okay. Just as I was about to leave, I heard her voice. Shion was looking at me, still half asleep. Oh my god.
Oh, just a little walk. Yeah. I was getting evasive for some reason. Leaving Shion alone in the middle of the night was indeed something I should repent for. Okay. It was hard to tell from her tone whether she was half asleep or truly meant it. She patted the bed beside her. I instantly understood what she was hinting at. She has a face and everything. Maya will be back shortly. Well, she has spoken. You have no choice but to obey now, Ryou. Like horniness? I mean, what? Her eyes remained sleepy, but there was no hesitation in her words. Shion's request was pure, like a child begging her mother to read her a bedtime story. So you say. Shion,
And then Shion closed her eyes. I couldn't comprehend why things had turned out this way, and though I didn't understand, I was inclined to grant Shion's wish. If she were lonely, I couldn't just leave her here. That may have had something to do with the item in my pocket that Maya had entrusted me with. He's in the bed. Let's go. I laid down, trying to touch her as little as possible. The bedsheet smelled of Shion's fragrance. And then they went and had a wholesome night together in bed.
A few days had since passed. The weather had gotten a bit sloppy, but Shion enjoyed staying indoors and talking to Maya. To quote Shion,
マヤの頭はあまり良くないけど、それだけに何を言い出すのかわからなくて面白い。それに私、マヤくらいの年の女の子と話したことってなかったから。
it would seem speaking with Maya was a breath of fresh air in its own way. By the time the weather improved, Maya's notebook was jam-packed cover to cover.
マヤ、そろそろ帰った方がいい。
Shion suddenly declared while we were sitting down for breakfast. Maya froze in place when she heard, with her scrambled eggs inches away from her mouth.
リョウ、しばらく天気は持ちそう？
ああ、この時期はもともとあまり雨は降らないからな。昨日までが少し異常だったんじゃないか。
ということみたい。
Shion said no more and focused on her soup bowl, as if to say the conversation was over. Of course, Maya wouldn't have it.
ちょっとシオン、帰れってどういうこと？自分の家に戻るということ。帰って船に乗る準備をするということ。
Shion's dismissing Maya.
そういうことじゃなくて、なんでいきなり。帰るの。
Go home! Just go home, girl! Her words were emotionless, yet had such intensity that they left no room for discussion. Maya was glaring at Shion, looking like she wouldn't accept
明
it.
日にでも出発するといい。リョウ、途中まで送ってあげて。
Just like that. Girl, alright, you had enough fun. Time to go.
近くの町までなら構わないが。
私、まだ帰るなんて言ってないよ。帰らないと死ぬことになる。
She was at a loss for words. Still, everything Shion had said was the truth. It was easy to tell there was next to no time left until the final colony ship departed, even though there was no calendar of any sort in the cottage. Keeping the distance to the spaceports in mind, she should be safe if she set out soon.
だけど、まだ取材も終わってないし。もう十分。多分、マヤは私の次に私について詳しい。そんなこと言われたって。マヤはリョウのことが好き？離れたくない？
Where does that come from?
何の話だ？
言った通り、二度同じことは言いたくない。
Shion was utterly expressionless. She sipped away at her soup with her tiny mouth little by little.
好きとかそういうことじゃなくて。冗談。ってシオン？帰れっていうのは冗談じゃない。船に間に合わなかったら、ここで私が話したことも全部無駄になる。マヤも自分の仕事をやらなきゃダメ。もう時間がないことにマヤは気づいてない。気づいてないふりをしてるみたいだから教えた。でも結局、帰るかここに留まるかは、マヤの自由。
Shion wasn't tossing her out. She was simply being brutally honest and telling her the truth.
そりゃ、私だって帰るつもりだよ。だけど、急にそんなの。本当に帰る気はあるの？
She was like, she made her, like she's sitting there eating breakfast all naturally and everything. Like, she was settled, dude. She was ready to settle.
理性では帰らないとって思ってるけど、帰りたくない気持ちが強い。違う？違わないかもしれない。
Maya muttered feebly.
シオン、それくらいにしておけばどうだ？
今度は私がいじめてるみたい。
いじめてるとは言わないけどな。マヤにも心の準備ってもんが必要だろう。
I couldn't sense any emotion whatsoever in her eyes as she gazed at me. This was clearly a strange situation. There had been no mistaking what Shion said, and it was strange that I was sticking up for Maya. I had no reason to do that. Maya didn't utter a single word after that until the meal was over, nor did she lift her head. Poor Maya, but she gotta go. She needs to live. When I finished working the fields and returned to the cottage, Shion was standing in the doorway. Her soft, rippling hair was waving in the breeze. She was quite picturesque when she just stood in place.
りょう
起きてたのか。
She said she was a little sleepy today and hadn't come to the field with me.
お腹すいた。
You want food?
ちょっと待ってろ。すぐに用意するから。
There was no need for her to purposely wait for me outside. Her actions were very cryptic at times.
マヤはどうしたの？
ああ、あいつはまだやりかけの作業があるから、もう少し畑に残るそうだ。
拗ねてるの？
さすがに、そんなガキみたいなことは。
Maybe. Shion quickly brushed away the hair that had been blown onto her cheeks.
人間なんて大人も子供もそんなに変わらない。つまらないことで拗ねるし、ちょっとしたことで驚くもの。
That's true.
シオンもそうなのか？
私って人間？
She asked with a mystified look on her face. That was a no-brainer. She may have been genetically modified and may have created things nobody else ever could have, but still.
当たり前のことを聞くのはバカだろ。
バカ。
Though her expression was relatively unfazed, she seemed to be moved.
バカなんて言われたの100年ぶりくらい。
スケールが違うな。
本当に小さかった頃はバカとか役立たずとかいつも言われてた。懐かしい。
Well, she liked that one, that's for sure.
そういう感情を持ってるのが人間の証拠なんだろう。
She smiled lightly and nodded.
話がそれてる。
マヤのことならこれ以上追い詰めるようなことを言うのはやめておこう。あいつだってバカじゃない。いつまでもここにいられないのは分かっているだろうし、自分で納得するまで待ってやるのもいいだろ
う。Wow, Ryou, what the hell?
りょうは分かりやすいほど優しくなった。
Where's this coming from?
別にどうでもいいからさ。あいつがいようがいまいが。
嘘つき。
She said that with a sigh and turned around. Wow. She went back into the cottage, her long hair swaying behind her. I watched her go in silence, and immediately walked in after her. Okay, she did not like that, for whatever reason. Ultimately, Maya hadn't come back by the end of the afternoon. There was nothing I could do about it. I wrapped up her lunch in stir-fried vegetables and put them in the fridge, and decided to head back to the field. Shion said she felt sluggish from oversleeping, and was reading a book in the living room. I guess she was finally tired of tending to the fields. Not that work in the fields required her assistance. Maybe I should find her some other pastime. Just as I was thinking that over, there she is.
遅かったな。
Maya walked straight up to me, hanging her head and blushing for some
草
reason.
むしりは終わったのか？
終わったよ。
だったらさっさと飯を食ってこい。野菜炒めが冷蔵庫に入ってる。あとはいつもの米と生卵も一つあるから。
あのさ。
Maya looked up, her voice making me feel frantic somehow.
春菜くんも私は帰らなきゃダメだと思う。
当たり前だろう。
私一人だけで？
何が言いたいんだ。
Maya shook her head, and her ponytail swayed from side to side.
私にもわかんないよ。
She really wants Shion and Ryou to live, huh?
わかんないなんて言ってちゃダメなんだ。もう時間ないんだから。
She brought over it with her hands against her temples. No matter how pressed for time she might be, surely she didn't have to come to a conclusion right here and now.
最近は俺もシオンもいつもお前に付き合ってるな。
だって私2人と話がしたいんだもん。
だったら座れ。慌てることもない。が、どうでもいい話をして何かわかることもあるだろう。
As I said that, I took a seat on the ground. The ground was still faintly warm from basking in the sunlight all day.
こんなとこで？
座り込んでいたって車が来るわけじゃない。別に構わないだろ。
この山は春菜くんとシオンのものだもんね。
何が誰のものなんて発想がここにいるとなくなるな。
Maya sat down in front of me and as I grinned.
でも春菜くんはシオンのものだよね。
別にシオンの所有物じゃない。
Hippity hoppity. I frowned on reflex.
じゃあ私のものになる？
Oh?
あいにくだが誰かに飼われるのはもうやめにしたんでな。
ちぇ
He was a government's pet for a while. She clicked her tongue, seeming genuinely disappointed. Hadn't she wanted to have a serious conversation?
シオンはどうしてるの？まだ寝てる？
いや、今は本を読んでくつろいでる。
私のこと怒ってなかった？
怒ってはいないが気にしているみたいだな。
そっか。
Maya smiled a little and turned her attention in the direction of the cottage. That look in her eyes. It was as if she wanted to cuddle up against Shion's side right this
お
second.
前、ずいぶんシオンが気に入ってるみたいだな。
冷たい人かなと思ってたんだよね、正直なところ。でも全然違った。見た目がいいだけじゃなくて中身もちょっと変わってるけど可愛い女の子だよね。ぎゅーって抱きしめてゴロゴロ転がり回りたい。
ぬいぐるみじゃないぞ、シオンは。
冗談だってば、そんな目で睨まないでよ。
ま、実際のところシオンは女の子なんて年じゃないけどな。
At times it slipped even my mind, but Shion had lived many times longer than Maya. And in that long life, she's managed to accomplish unbelievable feats. Yet all the same, Shion had not lost her purity. That seemed miraculous to me.
シオンから見たら私なんて子供以外の何者でもないだろうね。
What's good, Daegu?
だろうな。
私ジャーナリストなんて言ってるけど全然駆け出して。
Maya twirled the tip of her ponytail around her fingers.
文章も下手だしカメラの扱いもろくに知らないし駆け引きとかも全然ダメで。ただ
So far,
興味を持った対
nothing
象へ
too
の熱
crazy
意だ
has
けで仕事
happened in
やっ
this
てんの。
playthrough.
ガキだよね。
It's mostly just Maya has to go back, and they're all
一人き
discussing
りで
her
こんなとこまで
departure.
来ただけでも
So I'm
大した
pretty
も
sure
ん
that
だ。
this segment's going to end with Maya finally leaving and saying goodbye to Ryou and Haruna. I mean Ryou and Shion. Maya slanted her head and stared upwards at me. Those eyes filled with unadulterated curiosity seemed inexplicably
もしかし
dazzling.
て褒めてくれてるの？
思ったことを言っただけだ。
I answered and turned
そうい
away.
えばお前はなんでジャーナリストになろうと思ったんだ？
Personally, I guess this segment's kinda
No,
meh.
その
But
間抜
it's,
けな
it's
声は。
okay.
なんでってそれは世界のことを知りたいと思ったから。
I mean, we are pretty close to the end.
それは前にも聞いたけど何かきっかけくらいなかったのか？
きっかけ。
Oh, why did the music stop? Maya looked down to the ground as she continued to twirl her hair around her fingers. I hadn't meant for it to be such a deep question, so I was a bit put off at how serious she took it.
いや、思い出せないならそれでもいい。
そうじゃないけど思えばおじさんにもちゃんと話したことなかったなと思って。
Yo, what
一
up,
応
Mac?
きっかけはあるんだな。
そのきっかけがあってすぐに仕事始めて、それからは人に話を聞くばかりで自分のことを話したことなんてなかっ
Hope
た
you're
な。
doing good this evening, dude. Maya took her fingers away from her hair. Her mood mysteriously improved, almost like she'd forgotten what Shion had told her this morning.
まあ実は大したことじゃないんだけどね。実は私3年ほど前に誘拐されたことがあるんだよ。
Okay, well, this is interesting now.
それは十分に大したことだろ
誘拐とか監禁とか暗殺とかちょっと前までは都市部でも頻繁にあったことじゃん。
う。まあな。
You're just waking up, damn, and I'm over here thinking you probably ended stream. She didn't have to say it. I was quite aware. The terrorists who opposed the Earth evacuation project had repeated confrontations with police forces, creating a quasi-civil war. As their influence gradually warned, they couldn't even acquire weapons or personnel to continue fighting. At which point they promoted their cause by pulling off small-scale crimes such as kidnappings and assassinations. It was a sign of how desperate they had become. Whenever there was a situation the police couldn't handle, the military special force, GAT, was deployed to deal with.
実を言うとね、
And as a
私の
reminder,
父上って
Ryou
政
was
府の
part
役
of that
人なんだ
special
よ。
force.
ということは、お前はお嬢様なのか？信じられないな。
本当だよ。
Damn, and you felt that whole body up too.
まあ確かに昔から親の言うことを聞かないバカな子供だったけど。
三つ子の魂100までということわざがあったな。
ほっといて。まあそれはともかく、父上は結構偉い人で地球脱出計画にも深く関わってたからテロリストの標的になっちゃってて。
3年前か。そろそろテロリストどもも行き詰まってた頃だな。目的も成果も考えず、八つ当たりのように犯罪を繰り返してた時期だ。
As far as I knew, there were nearly no instances of anyone kidnapped being released unharmed. Hostages were put through a gamut of horrors and then had their tattered bodies dumped by the wayside like garbage.
私も少しはそのこと知ってたから絶対に殺されると思った。目隠しされて
Maya
冷
paused
たい床
there.
に転がされて。
The terror she once felt must have come rushing back to her. It may have been 3 years ago, but it was likely that before she was killed, a young woman like her would have been.
でも私は運が良かった。父さんがつてを使って軍に頼み込んで最強の特殊部隊が動いてくれたんだって。
最強の特殊部隊。
That means then that means this was a case that Ryou participated in.
部隊名とかは知らないの。存在が公になってない部隊だったんじゃないかな。
It couldn't be, or so I like to think. There was no way I could remember every last one of my missions in such detail.
特殊部隊の突入で私は間一髪のところで助けられたの。
話は分かったが、なぜそれで報道になろうと思ったんだ？
Maya looked puzzled. I could understand if she had admired the special forces and wanted to enlist, or if she had wanted to board the colony ship as soon as possible. But why, after facing such an ordeal, did she want to stay on this planet and become a journalist?
ね、テロリストたちが言ってたことが引っかかったんだよね。
あいつらの主張に染まったってことか？
まさか。
She shook her head sternly.
痛いけな女の子を誘拐するような奴らの言うことなんて信じないよ。
What's good, dude?
でもさ、
Welcome aboard. Just reading some visual novels.
誘拐犯の一人にさ、言ったの。
This
どう
seems
し
like
てこんなことを。
this seems like a more slower playthrough.
その質問は無謀だろう。
Had this woman been the rash type ever since she was a kid?
今思えばそうなんだけど、でも犯人たちは不思議に怒らなかったの。
She suddenly looked into the distance.
君のように日向が似合う女の子を暗くて冷たい宇宙とかいうところへ連れ去ろうとする連中がいる。守るために始めた戦いだったが、今は背中にかばうべき者がもういない。ただ人を傷つけるだけになってしまった。 犯人の一人が寂しそうな目でそう言ってたよ。残酷なテロリストなのは間違いない。だけどやっぱり人間なんだよね。
I feel like I missed a very good quote just now. I guess I'll look back on the playthrough. Let me pay a little bit more attention. Yes, the people I had killed were humans who felt the same way. Soldiers are finally able to point their guns at the enemy once they've completely forgotten that. That's the whole process of dehumanizing. Oh my god, I tried to be smart for 1 minute and I messed it up. But no, yes, that's actually a real thing. I mean, that's just an in general war thing. When you're about to go to war with an enemy faction, you gotta give yourself a reason to kill another human being. You gotta really think about that. Like, you gotta, they're not human anymore. You gotta think that your enemy is not human, and that will justify your killing. I don't want to use any examples, but I hope you can just, like, understand whoever is listening to me, just based on that alone. It's just the whole process of dehumanization. It's a real thing, and honestly, it's starting to become a lot more apparent to dehumanize other people. For sometimes as little as just, you know, small problems or even opinions these days. It's kind of stupid when you think about it, and concerning. Though, this is just from speculation. Of course, I have no facts or evidence or stuff like that to support my claim, but from speculating, it does seem like the world is kind of taking a turn to that a little bit more day by day. It has slipped my mind until just this very second, and I would likely never think about it ever again.
犯人たちはどうしようもないバカだけど、あいつらがまるで違う価値観を持ってるっていうのは面白いって思ったの。
それでお前は
何が正しいとか結構どうでもいいんだよね。
Yeah. She scratched her cheeks as she blushed for whatever reason.
いろんな人たちの考え、言葉、価値観なんかを世界中の人に伝えたい。何が正しいかはそれぞれが自分で判断することだもんね。
Okay, now this is actually very important. Hold on. I'm actually vibing with Maya right now.
って報道としてはダメかな、私。
This music is hitting me differently. She smiled shyly and struck out her tongue. I grinned really at her childish behavior, and at the same time reassured my opinion of Maya. She wasn't just an idiot who acted on impulse and did rash things without thinking. Actually, she may have been an idiot, but she discovered her true calling.
シオンが成したことも彼女の言葉もお前は人々に伝えるだけか。
判断するのは私じゃないね。
だったら個人としてのマヤの意見はどうだ？
え？私個人の？
She started to twirl her hair again. More importantly, she should probably do something about that restlessness of hers. However, this time, she was acting more mystified than worried.
そんなの決まってるじゃん。人を救うために頑張った人を私は尊敬するよ。
単純な意見だな。
No, what?
私個人の意見って言ったくせにいいじゃん、なんだって。
悪いとは言ってない。
I grinned, stood, and wiped the dirt off my pants.
なんか悪意を感じたんだよね。
Maya stood up, grumbling to herself.
でも、まあ。話聞いてくれてありがとう。
She came right up to me with a smile on her face.
質問をしたのは俺の方だ。
本当に自分のこと話すのって久しぶりだったんだよ。いかにも人に興味なさそうな春菜くんが聞いてくれたからかな。なんかすっごく嬉しい。
一人で喜んでろ。
I said that bluntly and began to walk away. Haruna has
畑行くの？
definitely...
私も。
Haruna... Maya has definitely helped Ryou. Definitely had helped him kind of become a more human.
お前は飯を食ってこい。
I said without looking back and quickly walked off. How utterly ridiculous. I couldn't believe I pried into someone's past. Was I beginning to change in some way as well? Yep. He's changing. Alright. I returned to the cottage after sunset to prepare dinner and check Shion's health after the meal. It was an ordinary night, except for one thing. After I finished Shion's checkup, Maya got a serious look on her face.
話があるの。
Is how she broke the ice.
話？何のために？何のためにって。
The wind was taken right out of her
心
sails.
理についての話とか？そういう高尚なものでもなくて。
Maya was already on the verge of tears. The way Shion teased her was far harsher than I could ever imagine, or ever manage.
じゃなくて
She shouted, half in tears.
ぶっちゃけ取材の続きをしたいの。まだ聞きたいことがあるの。分かってる。ひどい。
Shion idly gazed at Maya, who sniffled as she spoke.
りょう、お茶を入れて。
了解。
Although Shion teased her, she did seem to intend to talk with her. I quickly prepared some black tea and set it down in front of Shion and Maya. The two were seated across the table from each other. I stood a short distance away from the table.
なぜシオンはここにいるの？
Maya got the ball rolling just as Shion reached for her
正
cup.
確に言えば、マヤや多くの人たちが思い描いていたシオンはもういない。
Shion answered that sudden question sleekly and without
ここ
agitation.
にいるのはかつてシオンと呼ばれたものの残骸。そんなの答えになってない。本当のことだもの。
Shion sipped a mouthful of
終
tea.
わりを待つだけだった人類に希望を与えたのはシオンでしょ。絶望した人もいる。この星を出ていくくらいなら死んだ方がマシだと思った人も。多くの命を救ったことは事実だよ。だけど
Maya got remarkably close to Shion's
シオンには
face.
まだやれることがあるんじゃないかな。ない。即答だね。何度も繰り返し考えたことだから。私は移民船のエンジンを設計しただけ。船が出た後のことは知らない。脱出計画はまだ終わってないんだよ。なのにシオンはここにいる。それでいいの？私は死んだことになってるって言ったのはマヤ。それは私がもう必要とされてないってこと。シオンは居場所を作ろうと思えばいくらでも作れるはずだよ。計画が終わったって人類は新しい空間で生きていくためにやらなければいけないことが山積みでしょ。その時シオンの力があれば。そうか。マヤにははっきり言ってなかった。
シオン。
My voice was more childish. Okay, this word appeared in the last playthrough. My voice was more chiding than I intended, but Shion shook her head slightly and spoke.
私の時間はもう残り少ないの。
Yeah.
仲間のフェリクスたちももうほとんど死んでる。仲間たちの臨床データを集めて分析したエリカが私の命がそう遠くないことを告げてくれた。でもシオンは元気じゃない。そりゃ時々体調悪そうにはしてるけど、そんな。
Maya said in a feeble voice before removing her glasses. I could see that her hand shaking ever so
私
slightly.
にもいつ終わりが来るのかわからない。
Then Shion tilted her head gently and smiled.
世界の終わりと私の死、どちらが先に来るんだろう。シオンは
Maya slammed her fists into the table and bit her lip.
本気で終わっていく世界に居残るつもりなの？ 人々をみんな宇宙に追い出して誰もいなくなった静かな世界で生きる。それが私の本当の目的だったのかも。そんなの何もないということに憧れていたのかもしれない。私は100年も生きた。やるべきことはたくさんあったけど、それらも全部果たした。だからもう死んじゃってもいいの。死んだって、エリカさんって人には会えないんだよ。
Miss Elka's dead too. Shion smiled and did not answer her. She drank her black tea with a smile on her face. Oh, she doesn't know that Elka's dead. Oops. Oh yeah, I play Osu from time to time. Lately, I've been playing a lot more like DDR and Beat Saber though, trying to get rid of that big old belly, you know. So I've been slowing down on Osu and playing more actual rhythm games. What rank are you in Osu? I don't really, I guess I don't really have a rank in Osu. I will say I just play low 5 stars. I play low 5-star songs. I can beat 5-star consistently, but only like the low and mids. Maya glared at me with resentment as tears formed in her eyes.
シオンの意志を変えることは誰にもできない。誰にも曲げられない強い意志があったからこそ、シオンはシオンとしてみんなに認められたんだ。そうだろう。
だけど
それを決めるのもシオンだ。
She must have been wishing for Shion not to die from the bottom of her heart. She must have wanted Shion to live in the new world she guided everyone to. Even I understood how she felt.
マヤには未来がある。エリカや他のフェリクスたち、多くの人々が作った未来が生きてほしいの。みんなに生きてほしい。シオン。
Maya's voice trembled as she said Shion's name. When Shion said everyone, she wasn't counting herself. I dare say she already considered herself dead. And I was sure Maya already knew that too. And that's okay. I guess that's that. A bit of a harsh and tough conversation, but it had to be done. I set my gun beside my pillow and flopped onto my bed. Though I couldn't be sure that Maya had come to terms with it afterwards, she backed off. Maya truly had come to love Shion. I understood her desire not to leave Shion alone, so I couldn't be very hard on Maya either. Be that as it may, there was ultimately no path left for Maya but to leave this place. What was that just now? It was like a chill had just passed through me. It was making me nervous. I grabbed my gun and stood up. Nothing seemed particularly abnormal when I looked out the window. I listened carefully, but nothing stood out. The very moment I heard a faint noise, I gripped my gun and ran from the room.
Shion!
Though the ground was warm, these mountains were cold in their own right that night. Shion, who stood outside the cottage, seemed to be trembling slightly.
リョウも気づいた？
なんだかわからんが、俺が確かめるから、シオンは家の中にいろ。
Oh, what's happening?
ここにいたい。
I'm actually kind of nervous now. Hold on.
寒いだろう。マヤのところにいてくれ。
マヤは寝てるみたい。今日はもう疲れちゃったのね。
叩き起こしていいから、マヤと一緒にいろ。何か起こったら、俺のことは構わないから逃げて。
Shion unexpectedly squeezes my hand. I could feel the sensation of her warm, gentle touch on mine.
あなたのそば以上に安全な場所なんてあるの？
She's not wrong, but her tone was so indifferent. I couldn't tell whether she was serious or joking.
私、本当は結構怖がり。いつもエリカがそばにいてくれないと不安で仕方なかった。だけど、リョウは私を守ってくれた。言葉だけじゃなくて、本当に私を守り続けてくれた。
This music makes me uneasy. Shion looked at me with those great big eyes of hers. They contained no insecurity nor instability. Within them appeared to dwell nothing other than a deep trust, for that which they gaze upon, almost like the eyes of a young child looking up to her mother.
もう何も怖くない。今日まで私を守ってくれた亮がここにいるから。
Then she looked away. She gazed into the trees and at the mountains, obscured by darkness. What? And whispered that single phrase. The flutter of birds flapping their wings all at once could be heard in the distance. In a moment it happened. There seemed to be a pandemonium all over the mountain that had arrived. I held Shion close after on reflex. Did I get to her fast enough? Or had the shockwave which fiercely shook the air been first? I couldn't tell. I felt the impact just for a brief moment. Whew, what was that? I opened my eyes and listened closely. I tuned all my senses and to pay careful attention to my surroundings. I would protect the tiny body I held in my arms with all that I had from anything that would try to hurt her. When that long moment passed, Shion took a small breath.
亮。
なんだろうな、今のは。
Is that the earth coming to an end? The shockwave that passed through didn't seem to have caused any physical damage.
遠くで爆発でも起きたみたいだな。
もしも爆発だとしたらただごとじゃない。
まさか核爆発じゃないだろうが。
I'm gonna thumbnail that one. Let's go. There was no way there were any idiots carrying around nuclear weapons now that the majority of humanity had left the world. It made no sense for a militaristic nor political stance, and I couldn't imagine there would be any nuclear tests going on.
現場を見てみない限りわからないけど、人為的なものじゃないと思う。多分、これも終わりの始まり。
星の終わりか。
I'd seen some devastating omens while I was running around battlefields and on our journey here from the research facility, but this was something else. I guess it was about time some signs manifested.
ところで、亮。
なんだ。
少しだけ苦しい。
Shion's face had turned bright red as she said that in my arms. Once I realized I was probably suffocating her, I quickly let go.
悪かった。
ううん。
She shook her head slightly.
ありがとう。
礼はいらない。俺が好きでやってることだ。
Labor of love, he says. Of love, he says.
そういうことじゃない。
Nah, Shion's breathing had already returned to normal, but she was still blushing. Maybe I could tell she was red so clearly because she was so pale to begin with.
マヤのことだけど。
ああ、起きてきても良さそうなもんだが、寝てるとしたら相当な大物だ。
案外気を使ってるのかも。
誰にだ？
なんでもない。
She glanced at me and brushed away the hair from her shoulders.
そうじゃなくて、マヤを帰らせる件のことだけど。
え？
明日にでも出発するようにと言ったけれど、撤回する。何が起きたかわからないけど、2、3日様子を見た方がいい。それで何事もなかったら、急いで出発。
ああ、そうだな。途中で死なれても寝覚めが悪い。
それと、やっぱりマヤを送ってあげて。
わかった。あまり遠くまでは行けないが。
If something like this were to happen closer to the cottage, with that thought in mind, I couldn't afford to stray very far from Shion. Or would it be safer to bring her along?
ううん。遠くまで送るの。
シオン。
She looked at me, her face expressionless.
遠くまで。そう。宇宙港くらいまで。
何を言ってるんだ。
今までありがとう、りょう。ここまで私のわがままに付き合ってくれて。
Yo, what?
何を言ってるのか聞いてるんだ。
Alright, we might thumbnail this one too. Give me a second. The part of me trying to remain as calm as possible was still in the lead. The real Haruna, who used to be a soldier, has surfaced and was trying to analyze the situation in a collected manner.
もう終わりということ。リョウもマヤと一緒に港へ行って、終わる世界から抜け出すの。
なぜだ？
An indistinctive smile rose to her face. In the dark of night, she alone seemed to be the only point of light.
私はエリカの代わりが欲しかった。リョウは贖罪を果たしたかった。幼い日の罪を。罪じゃないと私は思うけど、償うチャンスが欲しかったんだよね。お互いを誰かの代わりに見立てた家族ごっこはここまで。もうこんな歪んだ関係終わりにしなきゃいけない。放っておいても終わるだろうけど、その時には間に合わなくなってるかもしれない。
俺はここを出るつもりはないと前にも言っただろ
う。私もそれでいいと思った。本当はあなたにいてほしいとすら思っていた。マヤが来なかったら最後までわがままを通したかもしれない。でもマヤと同じようにリョウにも未来がある。長い長い未来が待っている。だからリョウは行かなくちゃいけない。あなたが未来を作れる場所へ。
俺にはもう戻る場所なんてない。
You can find something, huh? Her words, so full of conviction, grated on my nerves.
裏切り、仲間に銃を向け、それに
I couldn't protect my sister, let Elika die, and even the major was gone. I had nobody left. Nothing left to achieve and nothing left to protect.
俺はどこにも行かない。行きたい場所なんてありはしないんだ。だから
求めるものは場所でなくてもいい。あなたが本当に求めるべきは未来であり、
それこそどこにもありはしない。
生きてさえいれば大抵のことはどうにかなる。それにリョウは強いのだから。
俺の力は君を守るためだけにあるんだ。
そんなこと勝手に決めないで。
Shion remained utterly calm and gently rejected my
終わりを
opinion.
避けることはできない。だけどここで終わりなんて自分で区切ってはダメ。
区切ってるわけじゃない。俺はシオンを守ることを選んだんだ。
ダメ。私を現実から逃げる言い訳にしないで。違う。
If I stayed here, then someday in the not too distant future, I would die. It wasn't as if I doubted that in any way.
俺は死に場所を自分で選びたいんだと思う。いや、俺はもう選んだんだ。
ううん。リョウが死ぬのはずっとずっと先。贖罪を果たしたのだから次に進める。新しい始まりを見つけて、リョウ。きっとあなたを必要とする場所がどこかにある。だからさよならなの。
Goodbye. Though her tone was calm, it contained a strength which wouldn't allow me to refuse. Shion had her mind set on how her days would end, the same as I had. That was what I thought, but I couldn't say it aloud. I knew she had committed to this long ago. Excuse me. Fuck. Something got stuck in my mouth for some reason. If there was anything I could say right now, there might be no point asking her this now, but I had to say it. I clutched my fist and opened my mouth.
俺は君にとって何だったんだ。そうやって簡単にさよならを言ってしまえるようなその程度のものなのか。
違う。
Oh, her voice echoed with dignity, and she shook her head over and over again.
とても短い間だったけれど、リョウに手を引かれ、あなたの背中に守られて、私は静かな時間を過ごすことができた。それはリョウだから、私はこんな気持ちになっているの。 マヤが来てくれて本当によかった。私は目の前にある夢のような時間にとらわれて取り返しのつかないことをしてしまうところだった。涼を求める気持ちが強くなりすぎて、もっと大事なことを見失っていたの。
Shion's lips trembled a little. It was just like that time. Just like that time she said goodbye to Elika. However unmoving, I could still sense the intense emotions just beneath her face.
お願いだから分かって。
Oh, she crying.
私の願いを。
Oh no, I don't like this. Yo, I don't like this. Hold on. A string of tears trickled down her cheeks and glistened under the
あな
moonlight.
たを死なせたくないの。
Her tears would not stop. The feeling which poured from her continued to soak her pristine white cheeks.
シオン。
Dude.
私はみんなを守るために生きてきた。でも今はただあなた一人を寮に生きてほしいと願ってる。
それが君の願いなのか。
Shion silently nodded and wiped her face with those tiny hands of hers. She bit her lips and rubbed her cheeks over and over again. I could see the determination on her face, how dirtied with the traces of her tears.
勝手なことばっかり言ってごめん。でもこれが最後のお願いになるから。
She whispered that and looked up to the sky. Beyond that sky, where the moon and that red star shined, lay the future she had created. Could there be a place for me there as well? It was her wish that I find somewhere new that I belonged and lived on. What she said was most likely right, in which case The mountain was astir again. I couldn't hear much else besides the sound of the wind rocking the tree tops, but the mountain itself, it certainly felt like it was shaking. Be that as it may, I didn't sense any impending
もう
crisis.
今夜は大丈夫か。
I didn't want to stray far from the cottage. It seemed best to head back for now. I turned around and started to go back on the road from which we came. My stride was heavy. It felt as if I laid weights sat at the bottom of the boots. It was almost like I didn't want to go home.
あなたを死なせたくないの。
Don't want me to die, huh? Ever since we came to the mountain, when we settled into our new lives, Shion had feared for my future. She must have known that I didn't know what to do with the freedom I'd obtained. It hadn't been a lie that I wanted to protect her. But if I was being honest, even if I didn't protect her anymore, all that was left for her was to wait until her time came, now that the military had backed off. Why was I here? Shion, who cried and told me she wouldn't let me die. If I stayed, my presence would only make her regret everything. I wanted Shion's heart to be at peace. After finally escaping, smiling, and getting to walk around outside, the last thing I wanted to do was make her suffer. That was what Elika and I desired. I closed my eyes against the piercing wind that suddenly blew past. That cold, dry wind which blew without end.
Oh.
What I saw when I managed to open my eyes.
すごいよ。本当にすごい。
シオン、待て。そんなに走るな。で、何がそんなにすごいんだ？
That was us, once upon a time. Shion jogging lightly up the hill, and me chasing after her. That was...
風、空、緑。
わからないって。それじゃ。
Yes, it was when we first made it to the mountains. The very first time I climbed the hill with Shion. The day it became her favorite spot.
場所によってこんなに風って違うものなの？
Shion asked me after she climbed almost to the summit. gasping for breath. Her expression hadn't changed much from the usual, but there was no doubt she was
ちょっ
excited.
と冷たいけど、まあ気持ちのいい風だな。
旅の途中で通ったどの場所よりここの風は優しいと思う。
The look on her face as she stood there, her hair ravished by the wind, was like she was in a world of her own. Although she was still tired from our journey, Shion was teeming with life this day.
ありがとう、りょう。あなたが私をどこに連れて行ってくれるのか少し不安に思ったこともあったけど、私ここが好き。
そうか。
Her words made me happy. The fact that my home, no different from the day I'd left, pleased her. The fact that she had accepted this place as her safe haven. And most of all, I was happy that she was smiling.
ここなら私寂しくない。私きっと笑っていられる。
Shion backs in the wind, practically speaking to herself. It seemed as though she might grow wings on her back, catch the wind and fly away any second. I remembered. This was the moment I first felt like I had met the real Shion. It was like some miracle that you were there, free as the wind.
りょう、
どうした？
あなたもまるで風みたい。私を優しく包んでここまで運んできてくれた。ありがとう、りょう。ありがとう。
What a precious smile. When she smiled back then, I felt the pain deep in my heart. Surely, I must have had an inkling that she would someday lose that smile. Her face had become cloudy with tears. Shion had said goodbye. Offering me a future was both her wish and an act of kindness. And now the surreal journey was over. No, it should have ended ages ago. Had we simply turned a blind eye to that reality? Had I accomplished everything I had to do here? Sis. Aleka. Major. Have I done enough? Would a final gift I give Shion be to choose the future and live my life? Oh my god. Woo. What an emotional playthrough. Yeah, that's a pretty good spot to stop. We'll stop there. Oh, sorry. So I guess that was a little bit less than an hour. Oh my god, I didn't even realize how bad my hair was this whole time. Who cares? But yeah, that's a little, just a little bit under an hour. Pretty good session, I like that. A lot of emotions that playthrough, just a lot of emotions. Still, we have no idea how close we are to the end. Or, if, you know, how things are gonna wrap up. At first I thought I had a general understanding of how this would end, but I guess it can go in either way. We have the route where Ryou decides that he'll stay on Earth and stick with Shion till the bitter end. Or he does what Shion says and takes Maya to the space station and all that good stuff. Something tells me that possibly not. I say that he's probably going to just stay with Shion till the bitter end. And then probably get, you know, die with the Earth. But who knows? We'll see. We'll just have to see. It was a nice playthrough. I really did like it. My stomach is kind of going nuts right now, so I need to go to the restroom. So I'm going to dip out. So y'all, for you guys out there, this will be your boy, Canon HD here, logging out. Thank you guys all for watching, and I hope you guys all have a good night. Peace.